How's it going, everybody? It's Space Cowboy 17 and welcome back. In this one, we're going to be discussing the top 5 needs the Cowboys must address this offseason before moving on to the 2018 season. Now, I will put out certain positions of need that the Cowboys have to more or less focus on, but please keep in mind that I do not say tackle each position either in free agency or draft. It's just vice versa. At least you have to tackle the need of this position some way, somehow, whether that be through a majority of them going through free agency or a good majority coming through the draft. You have to tackle these positions. So let's get started. The top 5 spot begins with number 5, defensive linemen. The thing that the Cowboys are lacking is a solid rotation sometimes, the lack of pressure for the most part, and just having solid starters. Yes, DeMarcus Lawrence has emerged as a solid pass rusher, but we don't know if he's 100% legit. Alongside David Irving's concussion, we don't know how reliable he can be in the future. And I'm not trying to say that just because this is a one-time thing that we have to all of a sudden hit the panic button, but I will tell you this, that the issue is that if you've watched the game and if you've noticed, the Cowboys failed to acquire pressure or make pressure when D-Law was not on the field, when David Irving was not producing, etc. The point is that the Cowboys still need to beef up that defensive line, whether that be getting Vita Vea, whether that be going out in free agency and getting solid defensive tackles, or defensive ends, whatever that may be. The Cowboys have to address this position at some way, somehow, through free agency or the draft. Moving on, the Cowboys need to address defensive back, whether that be cornerback, safety, or free safety, strong safety. They must address this position. Yes, the law of Chidobe Awuzie, Jordan Lewis, and Xavier Woods are proving that they were in fact solid players in the 2017 draft, and I cannot just be but amazed at how well they've been playing, considering in their rookie season. However, they are rookies, and I feel that we need to acquire some solid veterans in order to help them grow alongside, become a solid and, top 5 cornerback unit in the league. I know that sounds crazy for me to say, but they have the potential. Now, with the addition of Chris Richards, and considering he developed Seattle's Legion of Boom in terms of the defensive backs, I think that he'll bring a solid way of developing these DBs and making them better. Whether that be we go out and acquire Earl Thomas some way, somehow, or acquiring other means of getting safeties or DBs in the draft, we have to address this position. Moving on, number 3 is offensive line. Yes, another glaring issue is the offensive line. Some people might be saying, well, how is offensive line an issue? Well, let me elaborate on this. The reason why offensive line is an issue is not necessarily starters, it has to deal with depth. The lack of having quality depth at the position is what killed us. We have all pros on the line. The issue is we have no one after them. We have solid starters and some great starters, but at the end of this entire situation, what the Cowboys need to do is they need to go, whether they go into the draft, take someone, or go into free agency. In my opinion, you go after Fleming from the Patriots, like Mr. Cowboys Legend 27 has been saying. Shout out to him in this video. And I can just say that that's a solid move the Cowboys need to make. Get a swing tackle and get some guard depth. If they can do that, the Cowboys' offensive line should be more or less set, but I would not hold my breath on that. Moving on to number 2, the Cowboys need to address wide receiver, whether that be through free agency and or the draft. Solid receiving options in free agency look like John Brown from the Arizona Cardinals, Dante Moncrief from the Colts, possibly Sammy Watkins. There is Jarvis Landry. I know that seems like a ridiculous name to throw out there, but he's out there, just saying. So those are names to keep in the back of your mind in free agency, and I'll go in detail later. But also in the draft, there are names like Calvin Ridley, James Washington, who the Cowboys just met up with, and other deep wide receivers in the draft that can provide impact later on. And finally, number 1, linebacker. I cannot stress how important this position is. With Sean Lee out of the lineup, the inexperience of some of our linebackers to step up and the lack of depth hurt us in the long term, especially if you paid attention to the Rams and the Packers games. Those were clear examples of what happens when linebackers, or when Sean Lee is not playing, and when the Cowboys linebackers are not performing up to task. Now, I will say that whether that be whether that be using a first round pick, second round pick, or going out in free agency and getting solid backups, we have to address this position regardless of what happens. I don't care if we have to trade up to get some guy if he's there at 15, even though we're at 19. You got to get someone to fill in for Sean Lee, because you know he's not going to last you a whole season at this stage of his career. So, with that being said, and going through those quick ways to address the positions, I hope you guys enjoyed. But please be aware that I'll be going more in depth as we get closer to free agency. I'll start throwing names out there, whether that be through the draft or free agency. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this very quick little discussion on the top 5 needs the Cowboys need to address in the offseason. And I hope that you make sure to like, subscribe, because if you do, you are the real MVP. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. Bye-bye, guys.